Hello, and welcome to our first annual Medford Family Network TV show. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Marie Cassidy. I'm the coordinator of the program, and I've been blessed to have this position for the past 26 plus years. And our job is to make sure that every parent in Medford is given the tools and opportunities that they need to be the best, longest lasting, and most important teacher in the lives of their child. We do that in many, many different ways. We have parenting classes and play and learn groups and information and referral services. But we have to make sure that what we are doing reflects what you need and want in our community. Now, of late, it's been a tough time, hasn't it? It's been a challenging and unprecedented time for all of us. So we've been reaching out to you via email and phone and for our nature walks to find out what you need. And what we're hearing as we listen to you is that you've got some concerns about children and their feelings. We know children are experiencing things in so many different ways right now, so we want to respond to them appropriately and well. So one of the best ways to do that, I thought, was to bring in one of the most wonderful parenting educators of the Medford Family Network, Debbie Weinstock-Savoy. And Debbie is here with me today. Thank you so much for being here, Debbie.
I'm delighted to be here. It's always a pleasure to join the network and to be back in the Medford community.
And you've been with us for 25 of the 26,
I'd say
just
that's
about,
right.
if not all of
That's
it.
about
so
right.
It's been wonderful.
Yes.
Debbie, would you mind talking a little bit about yourself and how you come to us?
Sure. Just to introduce myself, I'm a psychologist by training, and I trained specializing working with young children and child development and families. I also had my own children around the same time, and that kind of changed my sympathies from children to parents, the people who take care of young children, and teachers, realizing how challenging our job is. And that's what my career has been for the last 30 plus years, has been working with parents and working with early childhood teachers, and especially the pleasure of getting to work with folks at Medford Family Network. So I'm delighted to be here. And I know when you and I started talking about doing this show, you had mentioned to me that parents had some concerns about kids' development in the context of the pandemic.
They have. It's been a very difficult time. Children's feelings seem to be different maybe from what they were before. Changes in how they are with their siblings, if there's a sibling in the home. Changes with how they react to their parents. I know a few parents are saying that they felt like they were being blamed for all the things that are going on. It's really, really tough. And wanting to be able to work with those children. So, you know, it's been quite a time to figure out how we can get through all this.
Absolutely. One of the things that you had mentioned to me in particular was that you were hearing from a lot of parents that they were worried about their children's ability to develop social skills, peer skills, friendship skills, in a situation where they can't get together with their friends in the normal way. Maybe they can't go to daycare or to school, or not as often, or they can't have play dates in the way that they used to. Does that sound correct?
Absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like that's raised a lot of questions and worries for parents. What do you think are the top worries for them when you hear from parents about this?
I think being able to really understand what is going on. It's a different child that they're experiencing now. So what is really going on for that child? And helping that child to be able to learn how to maybe express that so that they can be able to support them. Things like taking turns, you know, those kinds of things. That, you know, that can be a little narcissist sometimes, but, you know, the turn-taking piece. So I'm all about them. And then sharing. Sharing was a big item that on parents' minds.
So it becomes a question of how do our kids learn how to do these things, which normally they would learn in a situation interacting, playing with other children. How do they do it if they're not getting to play with other kids as much? So let me make some guesses also about other things parents might be worried about and respond to those. This is hard. This is a hard time for everybody. And I think it's very stressful for parents for us to feel like we can't do the things that we would normally be able to do to protect our kids or to give them the kind of everyday opportunities, everyday life opportunities, especially things like getting to play with other children that we would always have taken for granted. And that can be painful for us as parents. I think it makes us sad. We have a lot of feelings too about that. And people may also worry about how that's going to impact my child. You've been hearing that.
Absolutely.
Is my child going to miss out on learning these important social skills? Are they going to fall behind other children?
And stay falling behind.
And stay
That's
falling
the big
behind.
one.
Is this going to be a
Stay.
permanent effect? And I understand these worries. I think these are perfectly understandable worries for people to have in this kind of uncertain situation. But let me say two things that I think are really important. It's true that our early experiences, these early years, birth to age 5 or 6 or 7, are very important times for learning for kids, that they really set a foundation that other learning happens on top of. That's absolutely true. But having said that, here's the wonderful
Do we have
thing.
some good news on
Yes,
that?
here's the wonderful thing. Brain science and development study is very clear that we keep on learning and our brains keep on developing throughout our entire lives. They don't, our brain doesn't stop developing at age 5. We are continuing to make, not only to acquire new information and new skills, but we're continuing to make new connections between ideas in our brain. And we're continuing to learn about ourselves and about other people through early childhood, through elementary school, through adolescence, into our 20s and 30s and beyond. Our brain is developing and we're learning constantly. As adults, we're still learning about
absolutely.
ourselves and
More than
about
ever.
other people.
I can sit here, a whole sense of relief almost that, that there we have a continuum. We
Yes,
have the,
yes. We don't have a deadline that
We
we have to
don't-
learn
great way to
certain
put it.
things
We don't.
by, and that's it. After that, you're doomed, and you won't be able to learn how to share or to take turns. It's really okay. And not only that, as soon as the conditions change, children catch up very quickly. And that's part of what we want to remember too. Not only do they catch up quickly, but if we're worried that it's going to be our child who is going to be behind other children, everybody is missing out.
Yep.
All of our children are missing out. And our children will catch up together
Yep.
as soon as the conditions have changed.
I'm hearing that a lot, Debbie, about be behind for a long period of time. So.
And as much as I can understand that worry, I think we can reassure ourselves about that. Our children will catch up together. The other thing I want us to remember is that human beings are very adaptable as a species, and our children are much more adaptable than we sometimes give them credit for. And when we think about what we want them to learn about how to get along with other people, how to get along and interact with other human beings, the first most important things that they ever learn about that are from their interactions with us, with their important grown-ups, the people who take care of them and cherish them and protect them and show up for them. And again, the history of child development research is very clear that even in times of great social upheaval, during wartime, for example, as long as our children have that secure connection with that important special person or persons, it can be more than one, that's good too, they're going to fundamentally be okay. They're going to have the foundation that they need to learn about becoming a social person. So remember this, there's no deadline. Children are going to catch up quickly. We're all in this situation together.
We are.
And all of the interactions that our children have with you, with their important grown-ups, are giving them the foundation they need to also learn about interacting with other children, managing their feelings in that context, all of these things. Having said that, as a sort of background perspective for all of this, maybe we could think together about some of the specific skills that parents worry about. So, for example, you mentioned sharing
The sharing.
and taking turns. This is something I hear a lot from parents of 2-year-olds in particular. How is my 2-year-old going to learn about how to take turns or how to share? So let's think about that together, and maybe we can also think together about some of the other bigger questions about friendship and the nature of friendship and social problem solving, managing conflict, and so forth. But starting with these very basic ideas, I think it's most helpful to start actually, even though parents tend to think about sharing first, I think it actually developmentally works better to focus on taking turns first. Because what we find is that's an easier concept for toddlers and preschoolers to grasp. They can grasp taking turns more easily than they can grasp sharing. If you've ever watched, I know you have seen, and parents here have seen, you see a toddler and you ask them to share and they're like, no!
What's mine is mine, what's yours is mine.
Yes.
The toddler's creed.
The toddler's creed,
Yep,
absolutely.
what's yours is mine.
So let's start with taking turns. And we're typically starting to introduce, well, actually, we can start to talk about this even for our babies. Because when you think about it, we're doing a lot of turn taking with babies in the way we play with them and in conversation, right? Because we play all these games. We play tickle games where we tickle, 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 and we wait for them to respond, or they make a noise and we respond, we imitate their noise. So we're really taking turns.
Sometimes
already.
called the serve and return.
Yes.
The serve and return.
Yes,
Back and forth.
absolutely. The sort of back and forth of conversation and interaction. So one of the things that I like to think about is how do we notice the moments in day-to-day life that we're taking turns naturally with children. So maybe we're on the floor, we're rolling a ball back and forth, and we say out loud, it's my turn to roll the ball, and I roll the ball to you. And then it's your turn, and you roll the ball back to me. We're taking turns. So I might notice everyday moments that I can identify and label. We're taking turns, and I might set up moments that we're taking turns as well. It's also helpful for young children to structure taking turns. They're not very good at the sense of time, and if I give this up, am I ever going to get it back? I like to make the turns very, very short for little people. Maybe I'm just going to count to 10. And when I get to 10, your turn is up, and then it's my turn, and then I count to 10 again. Or maybe I set, you gave me a timer. Maybe I set a kitchen timer, but I set it for a minute, or 2 minutes, or 3 minutes, a very short amount of time. The smaller the person, the shorter amount of time.
That's right.
And when the bell goes off, then we're switching turns, but with a reassurance that you always get another turn when the bell goes off for me.
A minute a year is what I've heard in the past. Is that
Because I think that's
true, or?
because when you're 1 or 2, a minute feels like a year. It's a really long time. Or maybe you sing a song, but you find ways to kind of structure the taking of turns. And another trick that can be, this is always hilarious to me whenever this works. Sorry, it may not work quite as well at home. It works beautifully in preschool and daycare. Home situations can be a little bit trickier, but you can try it, which is to say to the child, you are having your turn right now. As soon as you're finished with your turn, can you tell me and I will have my turn? Because there's this funny thing that goes on when we reassure the child that they have control over their turn. Sometimes they don't have to hang on quite so tightly to the object. They're actually ready to give it up a little bit sooner. So I like to start with taking turns as an idea, but then we can add the idea of sharing. This sounds contradictory, but to start out with, if you're going to talk about sharing, let's first help a child identify the things that they don't have to share. There may be some things that are special. My special lovey, my teddy bear, my special truck, the new toy that I'm still really excited about. And we may want to label these as special, and no, you don't have to share these.
I love that.
You don't have to give turns. Now, if we were having play dates or if somebody else was coming over, that can create some conflict. And I might say to a child, this is your special toy. You do not want anyone else to play with it right now, and that's okay. We're going to put it up high. We're going to put it up here, and we'll put it away while the play date's happening, and we'll get it back afterwards. So we're going to identify some things as special. But there are going to be a whole collection of other things that we're going to identify as shared.
Got it.
The family toys, the house toys, the school toys.
As we do with the Medford Family Network. That's how we do it.
The
They're
network
shared
toys.
Yep.
And it might
Yep.
be the Play-Doh is shared.
It is.
Or the
On our little
pile,
trays.
or the pile of Legos, or the pile of blocks. These belong to all of us, the crayons. And now we're going to talk about sharing, because I have the network Play-Doh. Marie, would you like some Play-Doh?
Oh, I would love
will
some
share
Play-Doh.
some Play-Doh
Thank
with
you,
you.
Debbie. Thank
Look,
you,
I'm
Debbie.
sharing the Play-Doh, and then I get a piece too, because we're sharing. And so you can introduce things where it's natural to talk about sharing. What I love about Play-Doh for this is Play-Doh gives us an opportunity to talk about sharing and taking turns, because we're sharing the Play-Doh, but the toys we're probably going to have to take turns. Oh, you have the scissors. Can I have a turn with those scissors? Can I have a turn, please? And we can model taking turns, and we can I'm going to have a turn first with the rolling pin, but then you can have a turn with the rolling pin
excellent.
after I'm finished
Thank
with
you,
my
Debbie.
turn. So we're going to
Then
do
I
a
can give you
lot of
these.
practice. Oh, good. I'm getting my turn with the scissors now. I love these scissors. They're so cool.
They are cool.
So that's an opportunity, again, in day-to-day life and in play, to talk about what sharing is and to talk about taking turns and to practice. We're really doing a lot of practicing with it. I also like, when we're doing that, I like to use language that identifies what's being friendly. That when you share the house Play-Doh with me, we get to play together, and it's friendly and it's fun. Or when we take turns with the toys, that was really friendly when you took turns with the scissors with me, because that introduces the idea of that taking and sharing turns is important, because it has to do with friendship.
Yep.
The nature of friendship and what it means to become a friend.
And I think that's one thing that is so concerns our parents today when they've talked with them, is the friendship, the loss of that
Yes.
opportunity.
Yes.
As you said, but
Yes.
you can become that, model that as what friendship is. and
Yes. Yes.
Involves all these other things.
Yes.
It's
And there are a lot
big
of ways
loss.
to also introduce kids to important ideas about friendship. So one of the things that we've always talked about and share is our love of reading books
Yep.
with kids
Yep.
about different topics. And there are so many books about friendship out there in the world. You can always, parents should remember, you can always go to your children's library. If you don't want to go in person, contact the children's
Absolutely.
librarian remotely and ask them for suggestions about books. It's really easy to Google lists, and we're going to have a list that we're going to post on the Medford Family Network Facebook page as well.
Yep.
That's a link to many different books for young children about friendship. There are board books for toddlers that tell you things to do and not do with your friends, like don't bite them, please. And there are wonderful books for older kids. I love some
Oh,
of the
the
classics. The Frog and Toad series
those-
by Arnold Lobel. Frog and Toad, of course, are friends.
Yep.
Or the George and Martha series by James Marshall. What's wonderful about those series is that they follow the ups and downs of friendship. So they remind us that there are wonderful moments in friendship where we're having a great time together.
Yep.
But there are also moments that we're in conflict or we're annoyed with each other, and we can survive that and we can
That's great.
reconnect. And I think you have some
Oh,
items,
Debbie,
don't
we
you,
have a new
that are going to become
program that's coming
available.
up. It's called Backpacks with a Difference. And we're going to have children taking home a backpack with an activity sheet with it. And it's all about different kinds of friendship building and, for example, who we are, all about being the same and being different.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that very cool?
I love
and
that.
then one of my other ones, we're going to have about 15 of these available for taking them out for 2 weeks at a time. And this one is called The Other Side, how two families who are apart by a fence learn to sit on the fence together and share each other's yards. It's a wonderful, beautiful story, beautifully illustrated, but
Oh, that's great.
how one gains friendships.
Yes. So those are going to become available
Yep.
through the network, and
Very,
parents
very
will be
soon.
able to borrow those. That's great. That's great. I love that. The other thing I think about when I think about the friendship piece, again, there are our youngest kids who don't know much about friendship yet, and there are our older children who do know
Yep.
what it means to be a friend, and they're missing their friends. They're
Yep.
missing their friends a lot. So before coming back to our younger kids again, let me say a little bit about our older kids
Great.
and what they're dealing with. how do we help them when they're missing their friends? I think to start out with, we help them by acknowledging that this is real. They're sad.
Mm-hmm.
They're sad some of the time, or they're cranky.
Yes, that's
they're
what I'm hearing, a lot of
frustrated and
cranky.
angry
Yep.
because you won't let me go out. Because whatever happens is our fault. After all, we're the adults, so everything is our fault in the
Yep.
world. I'm sorry. It's because you're special. It's one of the tougher parts of being the important grown up in a kid's life. They're going to take it out on you. You
Yep.
are the nearest person. But what we can start with is expressing our understanding and our sympathy for kids, that this is hard. They're sad. They miss their friends. We miss our friends too. And even though it doesn't reassure them to tell them this is not forever, because for them it feels like forever, we know that it's not forever, even if it feels that way sometimes,
that
that
way.
things will get better. So I think we start with that. We start with that, acknowledging the reality and giving some comfort about that. And then having done that, we think about what are some of the ways that kids can still stay connected. And some of them might be looking at who is in your family's bubble, your family's pod, or finding ways to bring in one or two really important people with all the work you have to do around that to establish joint safety boundaries around COVID and possible infection that everybody will feel comfortable with. But it may be that there are other categories of getting together that are acceptable without doing that. Maybe playing outdoors with masks is still okay. Be ready to bundle up for the winter time, people, because you are not going to want to be inside all the time with your children. Make sure you've got all those good winter clothes. Maybe drive-by visits, like the drive-by birthday parades. But it's also a chance for us to remember some of the indirect ways of staying in connection with someone. So let's bring back old-fashioned snail mail.
Oh.
Everybody loves getting a letter or a
It's a
card or a
wonderful idea.
package.
Wonderful,
Have your child
wonderful.
make a drawing or dictate a note to you, to a friend, and send it to them, because in this scenario, your chances of getting something back are better. They've
That's a great one.
improved. Or maybe you could pick out something that both your child and your child's friend likes to do, something little, another little metal car, stickers, some kind of project, and send one to the friend, and your child has one also. They each get to do it at home, and then you plan a virtual play date, a Zoom play date or Skype or FaceTime, whatever you're using, to be able to show each other what they were doing with this new thing. Again, a way to have a sense of connection in the absence of being able to be together. And really sort of exploring what are some of the other virtual ways of connecting, whether it's dance parties on Zoom, or for older children, there are a wide variety of games that they can play together online. The one caveat I would give to parents is close supervision. Don't have your kids off in another room for long periods of time playing online games, partly because of the general, stranger danger if there are possible strangers involved, but not actually mostly because of that. It's because young children still can do stupid, mean things with towards each other, and they can do them face to face quite well, and it's even easier to do them in a virtual format.
Yeah.
And can take a little extra work to repair that. So having parents be nearby and supervising that, I think, is always a good idea. I got reminded of an app that is particularly useful for kids to connect briefly with each other online, which is a video chat social media app, the Marco Polo, which lets you with your child record a very short snippet of video, send it to another person, then that parent and child can watch it together and send a message back to you. But unlike something like Snapchat, it's not erased right away. So kids can go and look at the messages back and forth later on with each other as well. So these are some of the ways. Oh, I almost forgot. Medford Family Network has playgroups on Zoom.
Oh, yes, we do. Oh,
Where
yeah.
children can not only see their beloved playgroup leaders that they've been missing, but they can also see other kids, some of the ones that they recognize from
Absolutely.
past
And we'll be
MFN
increasing
playgroups.
those as the winter months.
Oh, wonderful,
Approach.
wonderful, wonderful. Let me just say something quickly also about conflict, because
Yes,
one of the
very
things
important.
you had mentioned to me before was siblings at home. The good news is if you have more than one child at home, they have somebody else to play with.
Yep.
The bad news is they're stuck with each other all the time, and everything is a bit more like this.
Absolutely.
So we may want to be spending a little bit of extra time practicing conflict resolution with kids. And with siblings, that often requires, because you can't do conflict resolution when people are really upset and losing their temper. But if you help people to calm down, which may require separating them for a while, and then when they're calm, you can sit down and do a very official problem solving. Gee, looked like the problem was you wanted all the blocks and you wanted all the blocks, and then you got really mad at each other and started throwing blocks. How are we going to solve that problem so you can go both play with blocks and have fun and everybody can be safe? And then I ask kids to give me ideas. 1, 2. If they don't have ideas, I give them ideas. Classic brainstorming.
Yep.
And then we go back and we talk about the pros and cons and we pick an idea to try. And the idea here is to help kids develop their problem-solving skills.
Absolutely.
If I think kids have already got some problem-solving skills, then fine. I can say to them, I need you guys to work on this and figure it out so everybody can be safe and everybody can have fun and I cannot lose my mind. But if I don't think they have the skills, they're too little, or if they're losing it because they're tired, they're hungry, they've been together too long, they've got personality conflicts, then I got to jump in.
Yep.
And I got to help them with that. So I think about how to practice those kinds of conflict resolution, social problem solving, in an even more active way than I might have been doing already with kids.
Great.
Let's see. That's a lot of ideas.
That's a lot.
That's
It's all
a lot
great
of
ones.
ideas.
It's all great ones. It's all great ones.
We, in all of this, helping kids figure out how to tune in to other people's feelings and their own, because you started this by mentioning the difficulties for young children around identifying and managing their own strong feelings, and they might be having even more strong feelings right now, as might other family members. And what I would refer people to is one of the things that we've done with MFN is we've put on some new videos on the
Yes.
MFN YouTube channel, our pandemic parenting videos. And the first 4 videos are all about feelings.
Feelings, yeah.
Too many feelings is what we call them. And I would suggest people take a look at those.
That's great.
And get some ideas about how to help kids learn to recognize their own feelings, learn to recognize other people's. If you're going to play feeling charades and play with identifying feeling faces, we have a link to this on
Yes,
that,
you do.
on those YouTube
The feelings
videos.
chart, it's just a wonderful,
But it's really fun to play charades where people are making faces.
and figuring that out. Oh, behind the mask.
Ramp it up. Do it full face, but then do it behind the mask.
That's good. Yeah, that's
Can you
great.
just use your eyebrows and your
Just-
eyes to express the way that you're
That is
feeling?
a
I
great
bet you could,
idea.
actually.
I do love that.
Use whole bodies to play feeling charades. Make a feelings chart where your child helps you to make it by taking photographs of them and other family members. There are
that.
lots of ways to be able to help kids do that, to help them tune in.
You've come up with so many wonderful ideas and so much great attention to this issue that we're
Well,
all
thank
dealing
you.
with.
Thank you.
I really, really appreciate all of that. Again, back to the videos that we have feelings. And we go into far further depth on all of this, not
Yes.
too long, but really, really wonderful, good ideas.
And they all have
for all of our families.
links that you can click on to
You can
get some
get
extra
more.
resources. Speaking of resources, you had some other things about
I
MFN.
did. We have a program called Ages and Stages Questionnaire. Many of our families have participated in this, and it's an incredible tool
Yeah.
to help families learn about, like you said, problem-solving skills,
Yeah.
fine motor skills, gross motor skills, personal social skills, and communication skills. So it's a wonderful way to look at 5 different skill sets.
I think it can be very reassuring to parents to find out
Absolutely.
all these things their child
It's
actually
a
already
great
knows.
snapshot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
where your child is, and we give out great ideas of activities you can do at home with at-home materials to really support that development in that current stage and in any specific area you'd like to go on. So, and another program we're running is a Parent Child Plus program, which is a program of literacy program for children 16 months up to age 4. So I welcome anyone to call the Medford Family Network for those and so many other programs. And I think as we are partnering for our parents today, we depend on you, parents, to partner with us and to let us know what you need. You're most important, really, not only to your children, but to us. We need to make sure that we are giving you what you need and support that in every way as we move ahead together. We have a wonderful community in Medford. We are blessed to have all these resources, and I am proud to be able to be a part of that with you for our children. So once again, thank you again, Debbie, so much
My
for being
pleasure.
here.
Absolutely,
it's great.
my pleasure.
Our first one together. This is just terrific. And don't forget, we're always here, a friend to know and a place to grow. Thank you so much for being here.